Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to our September Clay County Board of Education meeting. We'll go ahead and get everything started, and we'll do that. I'll ask Mr. Caldwell to say the Pledge of Allegiance if he doesn't mind.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. And Mr. Jones, if you don't mind to read the mission statement for Clay County Schools, please.
The mission of Clay County Schools is to build high-quality learning environment that ensures all students learn at a high level. Thank you.
The only announcement that we have is that our next regular meeting will be held on October 23rd at 6 o'clock here in the boardroom. It's a big day, isn't it? And the approval of the agenda, you have that in front of you, and it was emailed to you as well, so I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Mr. Jones, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And Angel, is there any sign-ups? No sign-ups? Okay. So with no sign-ups for public comment, so we'll move on to the reports section of and we'll start with the 2023-2024 budget. And I think Mr. Penman and Ms. Hollingsworth are going to kind of...
she's coming up to the podium to say a couple words about it. The budget was approved last week by the House and Senate. It's gone to the governor. The governor has 10 days to sign it or not sign it, or veto it. He says he's not going to sign it. And all that means is at the end of 10 days, it becomes law anyway. That's what he said he's going to do, is let it become law without signing it, and because there's some things in there he didn't like. And then he knows if he vetoes it, it's probably going to get overridden, so let's just go ahead and get on with the show. So that's where we are. Then DPI has so many days, and Shelley can bring an update on that. I know they usually say within 30 days, but surely they can beat that this time since they sort of know what it is. Salaries will be retroactive at the start of the year for everyone. I noticed they did give bus drivers a little more than everyone else, and I'm glad to see they realize we have a severe need for bus drivers, and we've got to do all we can to try to attract and retain bus drivers. So there's a lot in there. It's a 611-page bill. I pulled out the education part. It was 67 pages. I got that and on down. I finally found what they call the money bill. That's the most important one. It tells you how much and it's 12 or 13 pages. So I've been reading it. It's hard to, you'll say we're giving $5 million for this. Well, that doesn't translate what Clay County is going to get. So until we get that allotment, we won't know exactly where we stand. But anyway, the thing it does for us is we'll all be happy about, and I know Shelley will and everybody else, is it allows us to go ahead and make a budget for Clay County. And we've just been sitting on using last year. So we're excited about going ahead and getting that finished. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Hollingsworth.
I think one of the biggest things that everybody is anticipating is how this will impact salaries. And of course, we were able to get the summary of the conference budget, and I do have that to share with you, and I'm just going to read over what DPI has released as far as that summary. Salary and personnel, teachers and instructional support, they will get a step increase, and on average between a 2 and a 7.7% increase with those steps, depending on where they fall in their ranges as far as years of experience. So the steps got a 4%, and then they'll get a step increase as well. So once you add that additional to it, it could be up to 7.7%, including their step. Assistant principals, their increase will be in line with the teacher salary schedule, and principals, they're going to get their 4%, and then they will have to apply growth based on best of 2 years. They'll start with the 23-24 including pre-K ADM for the salary and the salary determination. So that's going to be a new piece. They'll start including the pre-K totals in with their average daily membership. Non-certified and central office staff, a 4% increase, and then additional pay for bus drivers, as Mr. Penland mentioned. Paid parental leave, which we already have had to deal with before the budget was actually passed. That was a piece of the budget that we already had to go ahead and implement, and those were for maternity leaves, for placements or babies born on or after July 1. Retirement benefits are going up to 25.02% as far as the employer portion, and then health insurance for the year will be $7,557 for the whole year, and that's the employer portion. And again, all salaries will be retroactive back to July 1. One of the main things we'll have to deal with our classified state pay scales, and I put that in the board folder for you all to review, because I went ahead after we knew that the budget was passing through the House and the Senate that we would go ahead and get all those calculations out there, assuming that in a few days the governor will let this become law. Classified staff pay scales back in March of 2023, DPI directed us to start mirroring the North Carolina Department of Human Resources pay scales. Now, at that point in time, we really didn't have to change anything because we've already implemented the minimum of $15 per hour. But we also knew that come this school year, once we knew what was going on with the budget, that we would have to make adjustments as necessary to get everybody on an actual pay grade and scale according to that. Now, you know, last year we did have to deal with some salary compression, which meant that, you know, we had to take a close look at everybody that was existing employees and brand new employees and make sure we weren't bringing in brand new employees making the same exact amount that we had folks making that had been here 15 and 20 years. So we worked on that last year, and that was one of the, that was more of a large expense than what we'll have to experience with this, but we will have to deal with some of that salary compression with this as well. So I wanted you all to have the opportunity to look at what I did as far as those calculations and those pay scales, and what the state is telling us as far as what different positions fall on what different pay grades. So all that was in your folder. And what will it will end up doing, and how it will end up impacting each individual employee. Some of them will end up getting a little more than a 4%, just so we can place them on a specific step. And what we need for our employees to understand is steps do not necessarily reflect their years of service with Clay County Schools. You know, step is just the step they're getting paid on, not necessarily how many years they've spent with us. So we'll be working on getting all those figures and calculations together and go over those with y'all as well. But we want to go ahead and have this groundwork laid out in front of you, because we don't want to wait too long to give them their retro pay and get them their raises. Hopefully we can do that in October.
Be good, yeah.
That's all I have, unless y'all have questions.
Any questions for Shelley on all that?
This is for you, Shelley, but when did the House and the Senate pass that budget? Was it last?
House passed it, I think, Wednesday, and they sent it to the Senate maybe Thursday. So, yeah, and then you got 10 days from that, so it's
So maybe early
Thursday.
next week?
Right, yeah, it should be the first of the week. Right. But like I said, DPI knows, the governor already made a statement, which was good. He said, I'm not gonna sign it. At least now we know. We're not gonna have to wait 10 days, and all of a sudden on the 9th day, vetoes it, and then we start
Start all
send
over.
it back again. So they know that that's what he's gonna do, unless he changes his mind, which I don't think he will. We'll know the first of the week, it'll be definite. And like I said, I think they'll get it to us before 30 days.
Yeah,
From what
I think
Shelley's
so,
done
a couple
here.
of weeks.
Right.
One of the key staff members is out to the end of the month, and she's one of the key staff members that puts everything together. So I'm thinking 10 to 14 days we'll have it.
Good. Well, thank you, Shelley, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Next, we have the intermediate school review session, which happened
Today. Yes, I think I put that in there somewhere. Just a little email I got from the architect last week. We had, architects came and spent most of the day here today, meeting with different groups. We started out with all the principals, not all the ones that are going to be affected. And IT, Adrian, maintenance, me, Angel, we spent about an hour and a half going over safety, lockdown procedures, which doors we want to open how, which doors we want to close how, or lock how, and just a lot of little changes that were necessary to be made. Then they met with teachers, and as you can see in the email that you got, the teachers that have sort of specialty classrooms, not just a regular classroom, but your art, music, science, those teachers. They met with them to get ideas on what they want that room to look like. They've already got it drawn out, and the way they do it is they put together what they think it would look good, and then they let our own teachers decide, no, we need to move this here, we need to add this, or take away. So I thought it was a good session. They're going to want to get together with the subcommittee probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks on Friday morning. And we're also waiting on the budget to be passed because we're hoping to get some additional funding for the new school. And now that that's done, we're going to really see if we can't make that happen. I'm fairly certain we're going to get some. I don't know how much. I don't know how much they got to give out. I know, as I've said, we're going to be sitting there on go. We've got the plans ready. That old shovel ready saying back one time when they used to use that at the federal level. We are going to be shovel ready. We're ready to start building as soon as we know how much money we got to deal with. I'm going to call actually a guy that works at school planning tomorrow that helps divvy out that money and talk to him. He sent me a cell phone number today, and I'll see how that goes, and I'll know a little bit more about what it's going to look like.
Good. That's good news. Very good.
That's all I got.
All you got? Any questions around all that? No? All right. Well, next we have the 2022-23 test scores. So we'll start with the primary school, Ms. Clemens.
Good evening. You have seen a lot of this data before, but it's put it in a different format to make it a little bit easier to look at. So Adrian, you can go ahead and look at our reading data first. Drum roll. There we go. Okay.
You don't mind looking at the back of the page.
So I felt the most impactful way to look at our data was to look at the end of the year from 21-22 to the end of the year 22-23 and the overall growth that we had in each grade level and then overall as a school. I'm particularly proud of our first and second grade teachers and the amount of growth that we have there. As you know, they do that without teacher assistance. We've implemented a whole lot of stuff with MTSS and doing our interventions to meet the students' needs, and I think that you can't deny the fact that it's working. We're very grateful to have been able to have an instructional coach and an interventionist over this past year to really help us get us where we need to be. So we had set our NC STAR goal. Our goal was to hit 65%. And we surprised ourselves and we hit 69% proficient in reading in M class this past year. So we're very pleased with that. Do you guys have any questions about our reading? So the M class is the one measure that the state recognizes for K2 assessments. There's not a state math assessment at this time, so we're getting a little bit creative with that. But we'll look at the next slide, and that shows our math instruction based on our iReady data. So iReady is, again, it's taken a student to iPad looking and going through on their own. So we wanted to find, we're very pleased with the results. We also looked in this past year to find something else that's a little bit more one-on-one teacher to student. So we started something called NC's ENSI this past fall. We actually took those last week. So we're in the midst of digging into the data because we feel like that's just going to give us a little bit more targeted data to look at for our students to see really where they are, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and what we need to target. So on this, we had set our NC STAR goal at 70%, and we were able to hit 76% proficient as based on iReady data for our students. any questions for us on that? All right, that's all I have for the primary school. All right. I'm excited to be here and just spend a few minutes just telling you about our year last year and brag on our students and our staff and what we were able to accomplish. So I'm ready when you are, Adrian. So overall, we were awarded a B, which, I've told our parents, and I want the public to know too, that even though we will always strive for an A, they're few and far between. There's one elementary school in the western region, the RESA western region, that had an A. So they are very difficult. There were also only, there's one A and 5 Bs. So I'm pretty proud to have a B, although we will always be striving for an A. We're very pleased with that. We also had an exceeded growth status, and so if you remember last year, we did not meet growth on EVOS, which was very discouraging given that we'd had a 15% increase in proficiency in math, and then we didn't meet growth in math. So that was very discouraging for us. But as Mr. Cole explained then, that had a lot to do with the fact that we never really had a true virtual year. We stayed face to face, and so our growth was kind of consistent. But then the year prior, when all of the schools across the state went back, it made our growth look a little less than everyone else. So we were very proud to have recovered from that and to have an exceeded growth status. Some of these reports came from the school level report, and some of them came from the district level report. So these next 3 slides are from the district level report. So that's why you'll notice it says Clay County's 3rd grade. Even though it reflects Hazel Elementary, this is a district level comparison. So there's 115 districts in the state, and our 3rd grade had the 2nd highest math scores in the state, which we're very, very proud of. And then in 4th, we had a bragging point in each of our grade levels. So in 4th grade, we had the 5th highest reading scores in the state, Clay County Schools. So very, very proud of that. And then in 5th grade reading, we had the 4th highest in the state. So we're super, super proud to have, those kind of bragging rights in every grade level. So also, we talked about specific grade levels or specific subject areas. All of our grade levels scored in the top 25% of the state in math and reading. So we had some areas we were really strong in, and then we had some areas where we were not quite as high, but still in the top 25%, which I think is worth noting. All of our subgroups met or exceeded growth, and so that's something that we closely monitor to make sure that we're serving all of our student populations well, and so we are very excited about that. This one we're especially proud of. Our students with disabilities exceeded growth. I have a phenomenal EC team that really understands collaboration, and this shows, and they've really worked hard to meet the needs of our students with disabilities, and so we're very proud of them. Hazel Elementary was the 3rd highest ranked elementary school in the far west RESA counties, and so we're super proud of that too. So just as kind of like an overall, just some highlights of where we stand. There's a few things that I want to just point out that I really want to thank the board and the district and my staff for. One of them is I just want to thank HPS because they don't get to have the same data that we have at Hazel Elementary, but you don't get to have a B and get to exceed growth if you're not sending students who are prepared and ready to learn. And I just want to commend Ms. Plemons and the work she's doing. We talked about this not too long ago. The 3rd graders do a beginning of grade test, and last year I believe we had 5 students coming into 3rd grade that passed that test, and this year we were at 14. Something like that. So even just from last year to this year, we're continuing to see those gains that the primary school staff and teachers and administration, the work they're putting in, carrying on to the elementary school. And I know that'll continue to trickle up to middle school. And
So I'm really, really happy about the continuum that we have going. I too want to make a plug, just like Ms. Flemons. Having an instructional coach and an interventionist, I know they're ESSER funded positions, but I'm just saying that this shows the dividends that having those positions has made for us. It has really made a world of difference for us. We have worked on streamlining our MTSS processes. That's been largely on the part of our instructional coach, but she's come up with a data decision matrix so that we know how to consistently implement interventions for students, so that if they scored this, we know we're going to do this. And just having that be consistent from grade level to grade level and classroom to classroom has really made a big difference. We implemented last year across the school, each grade level had an intervention time, so that we were having dedicated time to providing those interventions. Each of our students has a digital data tracker where they track their own data, so they're working on setting goals, and those data trackers graph their goals, and we try to incorporate goal setting into every time we have an assessment coming up. And then after those assessments, we have growth celebrations, and I want our students to take ownership in the growth that they're showing individually and the growth we're showing as a school. So just a few other things that I feel like need to be noted. I am the voice of these scores, but I think they reflect a lot of people when you talk about them. Communities for Students does an amazing job with providing volunteers and tutors for us. Our exploratory teachers, they're a group that's often overlooked as far as how they contribute, but they've done a lot of things. They're even doing data tracking and exploratories, which I think is phenomenal. But this year they stepped up the plate, and they're helping with transportation of students. So when you're talking about a planning period and those students have to walk all the way to the Rock Gym, that's 5 minutes that way and 5 minutes back. And when you only have 40 minutes planning, that's a lot of time. And they've stepped up to the plate to assist with those transitions, even so our teachers can have more time to plan and to be part of PLCs. In addition, they have worked on PDP goals of incorporating literacy into their art classes and into the music classes, and trying to support the work that we're doing in the gen ed classrooms. I mentioned earlier our special ed team and how well they work together. They've really last year took a new approach to how we serve our students with inclusion and how we serve them with pull-out services, and being really intentional about that. Our instructional coach led weekly PLCs that we made a priority to discuss standards and instructional teaching. Our committees last year did a great job of distributed leadership and really taking on things so that we could accomplish more as a whole by giving tasks to small groups of people and letting them run with it. And we've tried to hold true to our core values, and so we've really worked on making our school an inclusive, fun atmosphere, and that starts from the moment they walk in the door. I want them to know when they walk in the door that they have adults that love them and that they can trust, and that goes for our custodian and our office staff. Both our AIG kids and our Hispanic students, as well as our ESL kids, all met growth, and so that is a testament to those support services and how they're working in our schools. Our parent supports are a huge part of what we do, and I just appreciate the parents' collaboration with us this year. And the last thing I wanted to say is just district support. We've had a lot of support as an admin team in how we look at data, how we allocate resources, and I'm just very thankful for, like I said, having an instructional coach, having a full-time counselor. All of those things are so important to how we serve our kids. And so I know there are many things that we want out of the budget, and those decisions are hard to make, but they are paying off for our kids. And I'm very thankful for the work that's happening at Hazel Elementary. So I just want to give credit where credit's due. So, got a great team. Any questions?
Middle school.
So I want to say congratulations to Ms. Godfrey and all their achievement, because I know how hard they work. I've been there, and I know how hard they work to make that happen, and how hard she's worked along with Heather as well. Congrats to them. So the story at the middle school is a little bit different than theirs. So we knew at the end of last year when we got our scores, our EOG scores, and our scores in math, especially in 7th and 8th grade, were significantly lower than they've been in the past, that we probably weren't going to make growth in math this year. But let me start with the positives. So we did meet growth in reading, and our overall reading score was second among the Far West Middle Schools, behind Bethel Middle. We did have 2 of our subgroups meet growth, and that was students with disabilities, and our economically disadvantaged students also met. However, unfortunately, we did not meet growth overall, and I'm like, Melissa, I take this so personal, but we did maintain our C school performance grade, which we don't want to be a C anymore either. We're working to improve that as well. So, having said that, one thing we can do now is look to improve. So here's some of the things that we've been doing to improve this year. We've made some changes in our schedule. We have made our blocks longer, and we now have a 20-minute intervention time at the end of each block. So that gives us 5 days a week to meet with our intervention kids or our remediation kids, whichever ones that happen to be. We've also put a focus on strengthening our core, and we've adopted a common block structure for all the blocks, and we've adopted common instructional best practices, and we've done that in PLC with our math and reading teachers. Intervention changes that we've made, we've purchased Math 180 intervention, which is a designated math intervention program. We've decided to screen all of our students for mastery of essential math skills, and that's multiplication and division and their understanding of fractions. And we're also using our CFS volunteers in all grade levels this year. Pam Arrowwood is focusing on grade leaps in 6th grade only this year, and that's working with math facts and reading comprehension only. And then our tutors, Mike and Bess, are going to be working with 7th grade and 8th grade this year. This is our first time working with 7th grade, so hopefully that we'll see the fruits of that as well. And last but not least, we have decided to visit some other middle schools that exceeded growth in math last year, and those are Swain Middle, Andrews Middle, and Kenton Middle. We are right now in the middle of planning dates. Our first date is October 2nd. We're going to see how math is done at Andrews Middle. So we're excited about that, and for our teachers to see other math blocks and how they're structured and how they deliver interventions. And I always want to end on a positive note. So I did have 2 teachers that had growth to celebrate, and I'm extremely proud of these ladies. Miss Kristen Taylor and Miss Abby Pullen both are in 6th grade. And Kristen had a EBOS growth index of 1.94, and Abby had an EBOS growth index of 1.77. And when a teacher has a growth index of 2.00, that means that they have exceeded growth and their students show that they've grown more than a year. And so both of these teachers are very, very close to that. They were extremely proud of that. Kristen ran to my office and said, "Did you see my growth this year?" And I was like, "I gotta look at it." So very proud of these ladies. I know they're proud of it, and I know that the 6th grade this year is in fantastic hands, and I know that they sent kids to 7th grade ready to learn. So just want to end on a positive note.
Thank you.
Good evening, Clay County. We have a lot to celebrate at the high school this year as well. I just want to start, though, if you'll indulge me for a moment, just to tell you some of the things going on so far this school year, and then we'll go backwards. We're having a great start to our year. It's a really busy time. The first month and the last month are always kind of hectic. We've been through senior portraits, grade level meetings, homecoming voting. Ravonda brought the Be Pro, Be Proud bus to us last week, which is incredible. Progress reports go out for the first time this Wednesday. We've started working on our accreditation. We're in our accreditation year this year. So that hard work has begun. So a lot going on. Things coming up. We got volleyball hosts Murphy tomorrow night. Football goes to Murphy Friday night. And we have homecoming on October 13th. And we're going to bring back a homecoming dance this year. We're going to have a dance for the students after that game here in our gym. This year, our 3 of our big 4 committees, PBIS, SCL, and MTSS, these are people that work on just, making the culture better. They've come up with sort of a theme for this year: show up, work hard, and be nice. So it's real simple. And we think if everybody, staff, students, principals, if even if I can be nice. If we can all do those three simple things, which sometimes they're simple but hard, then that's going to take care of 95% of what we have going on. All right, Adrian, you'll go to the next slide. So this is what we reported in June. This is what we knew at the end of the school year. And just based on these, 4 out of 5 were an increase from last year. So we were feeling pretty optimistic about how the final outcome would look. Now that the data for all of the schools is public, I will point out that biology score of 71, that is best in the West. And I'll talk a little bit more later about what I mean by best in the West. And that's the second year in a row that Hayesville High has had the highest biology scores in the far West. All right? For our new results, okay, this is what we just found out recently. ACT and work keys, that's up from 68.2 last year. Now it's 73.7. So we're really happy about that. Senior class that just graduated, the class of 23, did a great job on those and worked hard, and it really shows. The Math 3 passing rate was almost 94%, and that's the highest I've seen in a while at the high school. So that's really good too. It was up from 87.8 last year. And speaking of best in the West, that ACT work keys, that's also 2 years in a row that the high school has been the best in the West. So really proud of that. All right. Now Adrian, if you'll go to the next slide, please. So the fun graphics here. We have posters in our school improvement meeting room over in the high school. We've got 10 of them going across the wall. And yeah, it's bragging rights, honestly. That's what it is. But we like to see how we measure up against the 9 high schools that are closest to us, from the 5 far western counties of Clay, Macon, Cherokee, Graham, and Swain. We feel like those are the schools that we compete against in sports. Those are the schools that our kids know, kids from those schools. And, we have a lot in common with these schools, maybe more than we would, a school from Buncombe or Asheville or something like that. So school achievement, that's a 12% increase. We were at 66.9 last year, and now it's 75 for the year that we just ended. And obviously, that was the best in the West. I keep saying that. All right, next slide, Adrian. Growth. Growth was also up, not quite as much as achievement was, but growth was up. It was 83.4 the year before, now 84.6. So again, any increase we're happy with. We never set a goal to go backwards. Our goal is always to go forwards, and we did that in achievement and growth. And those two components, school achievement is 80% and school growth is 20% of our overall performance grade. And so that's, next slide, please. So when you put those two together, best in the West. All right, so our school performance grade was a 77. That's a B. So we're 2 years in a row we're a B school, and that 77 is an increase from the year before, which was 70. So that's a significant increase in our overall performance grade. I should point out too that 77 number that you see, well, first of all, it's a tie with Murphy.
Gotta go in alphabetical order though, that's the way times are.
That's right, that's right. But in the 10 years that North Carolina's worked under this current accountability model, that's the highest we've had in 10 years, the 77. So very proud of the effort that our students and staff made there. And then the last slide, just kind of put them all together so you can see one more time. In achievement, we went from 4th the year before to 1st. School growth, we were 2nd and remained 2nd again this past year. And then in the school performance grade, we were 3rd in 2022, and now we're 1st. So, just to wrap it up, we always want to get better. We always want to improve. Can't be satisfied where there are things that we can work on with this, but we are really pleased with the outcome of our school report card. There's a lot of hard work from staff and from students, and they should all be really proud of this. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Nice job.
So proud of all of our schools. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I just want to say that, you heard all 4 of them, they're working hard, and they all four got areas they want to improve on. Never satisfied even to be first, as long as you're not at 100. So that's just the way we are, and I think it's been a great start to the year. I think they're just started the year off and jumped right into what they did last year, and I think you'll see as good or better results next year. So again, thank you,
y'all.
thank your staff, parents, students, and someone who Melissa probably said it. Parents are so important in this, and that's been one of my things for years. Parents are so important in helping our children learn, and I think they're all stepping up to the plate. So, I'm just proud of the whole school system.
Thank
Could
you.
I make a comment, please?
Sure.
I wrote down lots of notes here, and this represents a lot more than just writing down notes. It represents, as Mrs. Godfrey so eloquently stated, this represents a lot of coordination and a lot of people, and I appreciate all of them. Thank you for what you've done.
Anybody else? Thank you, folks. Appreciate your hard work. So next we have Miss Ravonda Palmer with a CTE award, a grant award. Another grant. That's always good to see. Yeah, thank you.
CTE has received another grant from the Dogwood Health Trust in the amount of $500,000 over the next 4 years, starting in January of 2024. Now, this grant will allow us to hire a full-time career development coordinator for our middle school, and the coordinator will be responsible for career exploration on a virtual platform, plus field trips to industry and post-secondary education in our region and our area, bringing guest speakers, coordinate career days, and educate our students on the important pathways that we have on the high school level and the importance of becoming CTE concentrators. Also, there was some money budgeted to help our CTSOs with travel to regional, state, and national competitions. I know the kids work really hard doing fundraisers, but sometimes they come up a little short, especially if they make it all the way to national, because that's very expensive. So this grant will allow us to help them out, give them a boost over the next 4 years to help them out with that also. And Mr. Pillin wanted me to mention the Be Pro, Be Proud trailer. Been 18-wheeler we had on campus for 3 whole days at the high school. Now, if you've never seen it, it was amazing. For 3 days, our high school students got to go spend 45 minutes working, learning to drive an 18-wheeler, a dump truck. I call it a log picker upper. I don't know what you really call a technical name for it, but it was a forestry machine. They got to weld, they got to do virtual reality with construction, plumbing, and electrician, and they got to do some lineman, utility lineman, and they loved it, and we're applied for it again, and next year we're going to include 8th grade. Now, they don't go below 8th grade, they only go 8th through 12th, and that's just the way it is right now, but we're going to include 8th grade next year. I think they'll love it. But it was really wonderful. I'd never seen anything like it, and the kids loved it, and they had a good time, and they should be posting plenty of pictures on Facebook and to let y'all see. Miss Reba came, Mr. Penley got to come and spend some time with us, and you went to Colorado. What about you?
I'm sorry I wasn't there. I would have loved to be there, but I enjoyed what I was doing.
Well, it was a great time, and I hope we can get it back again next year. Now, it takes a while. They're booked up to 2024, and I applied this time last year, and I didn't hear from them until April, so I'm not going to give up hope. I had given up hope, but not anymore, because I know they'll eventually come through. So next time, if you get an opportunity, you got to get out there on the 18-wheeler.
It was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I loved it.
They spent $2 million outfitting this 18-wheeler, $2 million. And I don't know if the state spent that, or I know a lot of private entities had part in it. I guess the state then just rents it, but the state's providing, they paid for it from out here. And it's going to tie right into this $500,000 grant we've got, and helping students see what's available to them. So not all students want to go to college. Some want to go to college and still do some of these things, which is fine too. But be able to firsthand, instead of just read about it in a book or hear somebody get up and lecture, this is what you can do. They can actually see as she called it, the log picker up. I didn't know what it was. It looked the big old machine that was moving stuff out of the way. And the seat, you're sitting there with the controllers on each side of you. You had the foot pedals, just like I guess a log picker upper looks like. And then the seat was jiggling the people in it like you would. I mean, if you're out there in the woods, you're going to be moving around. So it was very authentic, and I thought it was really, really a good thing. And this grant you talked about, it's to really start in the middle school, which is where you really need to start. Putting this in students' mind. I know they don't really know in middle school what they want to do yet, sometimes not in high school, but it needs to be implanted in their mind. This is a possibility. Yeah. And here are some things. One of the things the grant does, that it's to make sure every student gets out to visit at least one business before they leave middle school. So I think that would be good. Probably go more than one if they can work it in, just to see, again, on hands-on, or not necessarily hands-on, but out there, say it's construction, just right here to 69, watch them build the road for an hour, all that fascinates me still. Every time I drive by, I barely stay between the cones, wanting to watch the big equipment run. So, yeah, there's a lot of good things that we can do with this grant, so we're excited about that too.
We have an official name. It's a skid steer. Skid steer.
Skid steer. It's a fancy skid steer, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I knew the word skid was in there somewhere, but I couldn't figure out the other part.
That's exciting stuff. It's good.
But I like log picker up.
Thank you, Ms. Ballmer. Appreciate your work with all that stuff. Next, we have the Heights Memorandum of Understanding, Ms. Angel Owens.
I would have tried to get this earlier in the school year, but we were working out some things from last year's MOU to this year's. Our student support team met with the founder, Marcus Metcalf, last week, and kind of clarified some stuff of what Heights does for our school, our students. So what we will be doing is making referrals for things such as restorative justice practices, and that helps with mediation and sentencing circles, which is part of legislation that came through. And then truancy mediation, they can help us with that. They will refer, we can refer to them for peacekeeping classes. That can also be within the family. Like if a family comes to us and says, we just can't do anything, we need help with it. They'll come to us sometimes saying, we need help. And if they agree, we can make this type of referral, and they will help that family within their own confines. And then they will also refer out to pace setters, youth villages, and other community-based services. So it's just another layer of support for our students. This would be a continuation of last year's MOU. We refined our referral process and our referral form just to make sure that there was more detail laid out on what we're referring for this year and what they do versus what we do. So we were happy with that at the end of that meeting. So I'm just asking for approval for this MOU.
So we've heard Ms. Owens' request for approval of the MOU with Heights, just a continuation of last year's MOU.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Ms. Becky's motion, Mr. Caldwell second, all in favor? Thank you. The next item on the list there is policy revisions. These are down for the first read, and this has to deal with Senate Bill 49, correct? New legislation there. I think Mr. Penn's even got some updates, more so with that, since all that was passed, so.
Yeah, so really it's Senate Bill 49, it's Parents' Bill of Rights is what it is. This is lots of new laws passed by the legislature in their session. It's going to require some policy revisions of our own policies, specifically 7 different policies that we've got. We're already doing most of these things. Some of them we're going to have to change. Not any major changes, because we've always used a common sense approach here too, and not gone way out and do some of these crazy things that some places may do. We've got one policy that's going to be substantially a big change, and as you see on the board there, it's hard to read, but you've got it in your packet. The very first one, I call them the 3 biggies that we're going to really be we're going to look at all 7 of them, but parental involvement policy 1310-4002. That's a 14-page document right now, and we're going to make a lot of changes to that one. We do want to get, of course, parental input in this because it's about parental involvement, and everyone on the staff, not just my office, not just principals, not just all the support staff, school nurses, counselors, and so forth. It's going to take a lot of involvement to make this happen. Now, one thing that has happened since I initially sent this out to you was the state realized, the legislature realized that this was a whole lot for us to try to pull off this quickly. In fact, some of it's supposed to be in place the day school started. I don't know how you can implement a policy. I mean, they just passed it about a week before school started. So anyway, they saw through that and moved the date to January 1st. So now we have from now to January 1st to have these approved and in place. That doesn't mean we're going to wait till December 31st to start on it. We are already talking, I met with the leadership team. We've gone over all 7 of these policies. There's a few things that are big things that are changing. One is we've had before what we call parents can opt out. You know, we're send out something, so we're going to do this. Surveys on. We're going to do a survey. Do you want to opt out? That's what I tell them what it's about. They can come in and look at it. They can opt out. Now it's completely reversed. You've got to opt in. So that's going to be a little more difficult. We've got to get parents to come in, or not necessarily come in, but send it to them and let them look at it and say, yes, I'm okay with my child taking this survey. Again, we've sort of done that. We've usually done the opt-out, but I know talking to Mr. Overland at the high school level, they have always made sure parents are not, their children are not taking surveys of any subject that they don't want them to be involved with. So we're already looking at that. They told us to put a link on our website to the 12 Bill of Rights that parents have, and I think Adrian, okay, there's our website. I'm going to go to that right now and show you. It's a front page on our website, and as parents scroll through, you get it right there. Bingo, there it is on the front page, and it takes you to the 12 rights and also references the board policies, which will change somewhat as we go through this. So we are already starting to implement some of these things that we can implement without.
Has this already been posted?
That's live. That's
right.
live.
I mean, but it has. It's not just an example for us to look at.
No, it's out there.
Okay.
If you go home, pull up your computer, you'll see it. If you go to claycountyschools.org, it's already out there.
And it's been out there.
We put it out there last week, I think, once we realized that would not be any problem. The biggest thing with these policies, we're waiting on legal advice because the legal teams right now are really scratching their heads. I listened to 4 different lawyers maybe 2 weeks ago at a session I was in, and they said they were scratching their heads over it. So I said, well, you can imagine if they're scratching their heads where the rest of us are, and they're trying to figure out legally what we can and can't do, what we have to do, and so we're just sort of, the School Board Association has their legal team looking at it. The School Administrators Association has their team looking at it. The State Department of Public Instruction has their legal team looking at it. So, but the 3 of them, and I'm sure there's more than that, that's just the 3 big ones that I'm aware of, they will be giving us, sending us guidance and giving us some ideas on what we need to do. I know with as I said, the 3 big policies, and one is the one I just mentioned, the Parent Bill of Rights. The other one is Comprehensive Health Education Program, Policy 3540, and Policy 6120, Student Health Services. Most of these big changes are in those 3, so that's going to require us figuring out what we can do as far as student health, what our nurses are allowed to do with students as far as treating them without parental permission. They're telling us right now, just again, use common sense. A student comes in, I've got a bruise or a cut or a fever, you know, fix it. If it's a fever, I guess you call the parents. But anything bigger, you need to call the parents and let them know and let them decide, do you want us to treat it, or do you want to come and pick them up, or just exactly how you want to do it. So the school nurses are sort of in limbo right now as to what exactly they need to be doing. But again, we're just going to use common sense. We're not going to let a child suffer if they fall on the playground just because we don't have a guidance on that yet. We'll again continue doing what we've been doing. So right now, I put those 7 policies in your packet, and I referenced them on the agenda. That's the ones we're going to be looking at. We will get a more definite policy to you next month, and hopefully with more legal guidance. And we will start there and see if we need to go in another month, which we probably will, but definitely try to have it wrapped up. I think I've set a goal right now is by November. Try not to get into December unless we just absolutely have to. But that's what we're looking at. As far as Senate Bill 49, there's a lot there. I'm just hitting the high spots, but I want everyone to be aware of what we're looking at doing. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay.
Very good. So those are there for, they're labeled as first read, but they'll be back on there next month.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yes. So, very good. So we'll move on to the action item section of the agenda, which deals with the boiler replacement project.
All right, you've got that in your packet somewhere. Yeah. This was, I think, an oversight from LS3P. This was an oversight. According to the architects, it was sent to Mr. Cole, I guess, in June. And I know June was a very busy month with Mr. Cole leaving and the board trying to figure out what to do. So somehow this did not get approved. This is a contract for the mechanical and plumbing design team to work out how we're going to take the boiler out of the auditorium and put it somewhere else until the school's built, and then hopefully use it somehow in the place in the new school. But and I don't know if y'all talked about this or not back in June, but anyway, they need to get this underway because that's the first thing that's going to have to happen pretty much, because the auditorium's the first building coming down. So that boiler serves the current middle school and the auditorium. Of course, it won't need to serve the auditorium anymore, but the current middle school, I'm assuming, Ms. Rich, you're going to want heating and cooling for the next year. So definitely get the heating part taken care of with moving this boiler. So that's what this contract's about. Any questions on that?
How old is the old boiler and the auditorium?
I'd have to ask that. We replaced it.
No, I don't, but I think when we talked about it before, they did point out that it was new enough to move rather than discard.
I think you're right. I know we've replaced it a time or two over the years. The first time we had to replace it, it cost lots of money because it had asbestos piping in it, and we had to take all that out. But it is new enough to where we can use it in the new school, and it doesn't need to be discarded. Any other
questions about?
I do need a approval of this one.
Okay, so we'll entertain a motion to approve that.
Make a motion to approve.
Mr. Jones has a motion.
I'll second
Ms.
it.
Crawford, second. All in favor? Thank you. And it looks like next is the consent agenda. Looks like the only thing on there is the regular session minutes from August the 28th meeting. So I'll entertain a motion that we approve the consent agenda. Mr. Caldwell, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Begg, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is board member remarks. don't know if anybody has anything they want to say, but I would like to just kind of throw out an update real quick for everybody on the superintendent search. As you know, the deadline for the applications was September the 15th, so that is passed. And we had a total of 17 applicants, I believe the last memo said, so which was good considering there were 30-ish superintendent vacancies across the state of North Carolina, something like that. So we were one of those vacancies and got 17 applicants, so that's very promising. Mason-Borough Group is in the process of going through all of those applicants and finalizing background checks, finalizing credential verifications, social media checks, and news media background checks as well. So all that's being finalized, and we are set to meet with them October the 9th, Monday, October the 9th, to begin reviewing those 17 applications and start the process of narrowing those down. So we're excited about that, excited that we got 17 applicants, and from what we hear so far from Mason-Borough Group is that we have 17 really good applicants as well. So that's about all we have right now. So any other comments or remarks from the board? Mr. Penman, you have anything else?
Just a couple of things. Last time we met was our first day of school, and today's the end of the first month. And it's been a good month, as Mr. Overland said. I had busy written down. It's been busy. It's busy up here. I forgot how busy it is that first month. It's good, but it has been busy. But I think we've had a good seamless transition between when Mr. Cole left and me coming in. It seems to have gone, at least from my end, going really well. Our enrollment's up about 20 students. I didn't look to see what it. I'm assuming it's pretty well spread out among all 4 schools, but we are up overall over the numbers I gave you on day one. We're up 20 students, and these are accurate numbers because day one you're dealing with people that may have some no-shows in there that end up coming off. So it usually goes down. So I guess that's a good sign that we're up 20, and we'll probably continue growing. So the quicker we get this new school done, the better off we'll be. As I said earlier, proud of our test scores. The state has also put money in the budget to pay, and I think they did this last year. I don't know if it's state money or federal money, but the reduced lunch and breakfast is gone again. We've been having to charge this year because the money was disappeared, but then the legislature approved the budget. It was in the budget. So Jenny was telling me today that starting tomorrow, they went in today and changed their machines. So tomorrow, if you were on a reduced breakfast or lunch, it's now free. The state's paying for it. It's not a lot, but it's 40 cents per child, and it's more of a headache for the students have to keep up with it, and our cafeteria staff have to keep up with it. So now it's basically you're either eating free or you're paying. You're a paid student, and I always point this out. Just because you're paying quote full price, that doesn't mean you're paying full price. We still get reimbursed on top of that. Not a lot, but we get reimbursed so much. I don't know what that is now. So I know sometimes they think that. What, $3.50 or something is what they're charging now. You know, you can't cook a meal for $3.50 in today's prices. So we get federal reimbursement on top of that to help supplement our program. So everything's been good. The biggest problem we got, and we experienced some of that today, Angel and I, that was Jimmy Moore, bus drivers. We are in a dire shortage of bus drivers. We've got enough to cover barely, but when somebody's out, we've got a major problem. And I think this Thursday, we were looking at having 4 different ones out. We can handle 2 out, but that means Jimmy and his assistant Carrie have to drive. So that, they do it, and that leaves no mechanic down there, but they can make it work with Judy Rumfeld's answering the phone. So that's the biggest thing we got to work on, and it's not just here. It's statewide. I know a lot of bigger counties around Raleigh have to park buses not run routes, all kinds of things. So far, we haven't had to do that. We're grasping at straws here, trying to make it work. So I think we might have, I hopefully got Thursday worked out where we can run all the routes as regular, but just want to make sure everybody's aware of that bus drivers are at a premium. That's all I had in the comment.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you everybody for attending. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion that we go into closed session.
I'll make a motion.
Ms. Scott, Mr. Jones, second. All in favor?